This is Tammy and Jessica for CIS 665. Today we're going to discuss Bootstrap and custom reusable web components and how they can be used to make web development faster and easier. Bootstrap is the most popular HTML, CSS, and JavaScript framework for developing responsive web pages. It's simple, fast, and flexible for popular UI components and interactions. There are many advantages to Bootstrap. First, it's quick. Bootstrap offers many design templates and classes to speed up the design process. It's responsive, using HTML and CSS to hide, resize, grow, or shrink content to fit the screen size for computers, tablets, or mobile phones. It has design consistency, where all components share the same design and style for a consistent look. It's compatible and can be used with all modern browsers. It's open source, which is free to download and use for everyone, and it's very easy to use. All you need is a basic understanding of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Some of the common user interface components that Bootstrap offers are forms, buttons, navigations or nav bars, drop-downs, alerts, modals, tabs, cards, accordions, carousels, tooltips, and a lot more. To get started with Bootstrap, you just need to grab this link that is listed on the Bootstrap homepage and copy and paste the style sheet link into your header tag before all other styled sheets to load the Bootstrap CSS. Bootstrap's grid system scales up to 12 columns as the screen size changes. The columns are given number values to represent the correct proportions. For example, 3 equal columns would have all of the class tags of col-4. It includes predefined classes to easily create different layouts such as row and col, and margin and padding can also be adjusted to space out content. In the example below, you see the various varieties of column spacing for 12, 6, 4, or single space columns. Bootstrap's forms are a simple way to style, organize, and align form controls like labels, text boxes, select drop-downs, radio buttons, checkboxes, and buttons. Here is an example of a simple email address and password form with a checkbox and a submit button. And below you will see the HTML code that would be used to create this image. Bootstrap buttons can be used in the forms or dialogues or on their own. After the size, color, active, disabled state, or fill in just by changing the class name. Bootstrap alerts can format alert messages for input validation or feedback messages. The classes provide alert styling, color, and format. These 3 listed here are success, danger, and warning alerts. And the code next to the image gives an example of how to format the HTML tags. Bootstrap also offers various navigation formats, and these navigation can be applied to web pages for easy access to common site locations. Bootstrap provides many styles and different features for navigation bars. This one here shown below is a very basic 4-item navigation bar. Tables provide clear organization of data, and Bootstrap provides various colors, striping, borders, and text formatting options to design your table that's holding your data on your web page. Bootstrap also offers cards that are flexible content containers. It's an easy way to organize groups of information, such as profile information or images with quick summaries listed below, or buttons to take you to locations on the website. The documentation section on the Bootstrap website provides many variations of each of these components and many more. It will have all you need to get started. It provides the HTML template code and example images to show you what your content will look like once it's applied. And there is documentations for each of the several versions that exist of Bootstrap in case you need to go forward or backward in a version collection.
Another useful tool for developers developing on the web are the customizable, reusable web components. So what is a customized, reusable web component? Well, it's a set of web platform APIs that allows you to create new custom, reusable, and encapsulated HTML tags to use in web pages and web apps. They are reusable widgets that are built with web component standards. They don't require any special third-party libraries or framework, but they can be used with third-party libraries and framework. The web components will work across all modern browsers and can be used with any JavaScript library or framework that utilizes HTML. So with the web component, web designers and developers are no longer limited to the existing HTML tags that exist in the browser that the vendors provide. Developers now have the ability to create new customized HTML tags, or they can enhance existing HTML tags or extend components that developers around the world have already created. So there are three main building blocks of a web component. The first is a customized element. The customized elements offer the capability to create your own custom HTML tags and elements. You can also beef up the existing HTML tags or extend the components that other developers have created. They can have their own scripted behavior with custom classes and lifecycle methods and CSS styling inside. The second main building block is the Shadow DOM. The Shadow DOM provides encapsulation for JavaScript, CSS, and templating in a web component. It allows these things to remain separated from the main DOM of the main object. And then there's HTML templates. This defines the encapsulated markup of our web components, including both the HTML and CSS in the templates. So some examples of some customized web components you might be able to create are emails, user info. You can create pop-up info boxes, or how-to checkboxes, or how-to tooltips. You can create a phone number tag, or one of the examples we'll do is a hello button. You can create user cards. You can create how-to tabs. The amount of different tabs that you can create are endless. It's all up to your imagination. So how do you use a customized element? To customize an element, we need to tell the browser several details about it, how to show it, and what to do when the element is added or removed to a page. So that's done by making a class with special methods. And that's easy. There are only a few methods and all of them are optional. So essentially, a custom element consists of two pieces, the tag name and the class that extends the built-in HTML element class. This is the most basic version of our custom element. You'll have your tag name, you'll have your my element, and that extends the HTML element. And then all of your methods inside that, it will be just like object-oriented programming class. And then after that, we need to register the element. We register the element by calling the custom elements define button, or define method. You pass that, the name of the element that you're going to create, and the class of the element. And then to use it, you use it just like a normal tag. You'd have the my element open tag and then the closing tag. This example doesn't do much right now, but for using the my element tag in any HTML document, it will create an element with a h1 tag and it'll say, hello world. So the customized element lifecycle methods are the constructor. It's just how the element is created. The connect callback. The browser calls this method when an element is added to a document. It can be called many times if the element is repeatedly added or removed. The disconnected callback. The browser calls this element when the element is removed from the document. It can be called many times as well if the element is repeatedly added or removed. The observe attributes returns an array of attribute names to the monitor for changes. The attribute change callback has three parameters: the name, the old value, and the new value. And this is called when one of the attributes listed is modified. We have the adopted callback. When the element is moved to a new document, it happens in this document adopt node. That's very rarely used, but there can be other elements and methods in this property. These are just the lifecycle methods that take place. So this is an example of how to extend an existing element. We're going to extend a hello button, or we're going to extend the HTML button to have a hello button. So the first thing you do is extend the HTML button with our class. You use the class hello button extends. And then you provide when you're defining it, you'll provide a third argument in the define that specifies the tag. And the reason we do that, there may be many different tags that share the same DOM class. And so we have to specify, that's why we specify which needs to extend. So we have the extends button. And then finally at the end, to use our custom element, we insert a regular button tag and then add the add is equal hello button to it. And then when you click it, it'll pop up in a little alert that says hello. So the second building block is the Shadow DOM. The Shadow DOM is a powerful API to combine with custom elements. It provides encapsulation by hiding the DOM subtrees under shadow roots. Now the main idea behind this Shadow DOM is to be able to keep all the markup structure, the style, and the behavior hidden and separate from the other code on the page so that the different parts don't clash. And the code can be kept nice and clean and separate. The Shadow DOM API provides a nice way to attach a hidden separated DOM to an element. So using the Shadow DOM. Attaching a Shadow DOM to a custom element as part of its constructor is far more useful application of the Shadow DOM. You can attach a shadow root to any element using the element attach shadow DOM method. This takes as its parameter an option object that contains one option, the mode, and that value will either be open or closed. And so if you call the attach shadow with the mode open, we're telling our element to save a reference to the shadow root on the element shadow root property. And so the open means that you can access the Shadow DOM using JavaScript written on the main page context. So if you attach a shadow root to a custom element with a mode closed, no reference would have been made to store that element, so you won't be able to access the Shadow DOM from outside. So there are a couple of interesting things going on here. First, the custom element creates its own Shadow DOM with an instance of my element is created, and that's done in the constructor. And then secondly, because we're creating a shadow root, the CSS rules inside the style will be scoped into my element. And so if you inspect the element in the browser, you won't see any of the markup apart from the attributes of the element, and they're hidden under the shadow root. And then the third important building block for customizable web components is the HTML templates. These are user-defined templates in HTML that aren't rendered until they're called upon. In other words, the template is in HTML that the browser ignores until told to do otherwise. So these templates then can be passed around and reused in a lot of interesting ways. And when you have to reuse the same markup structures repeatedly on a web page, it makes sense to use some kind of template rather than repeating the same structure over and over and over again. So this is made easy to do by the HTML template element. This element and its contents are not rendered in the DOM, but it can still be referenced by using JavaScript. So the template is placed within the web component, and you can write HTML and CSS code within the tag to define how you want the component to be presented. And then you can write the JavaScript to actually reference the template, and that's when it will appear. So using the templates with the web components. So the key point on this note is that we append a clone of the template content into the shadow root by creating, and we create it using the node clone node method. So when we have a shadow root, we'll attach this shadow with the mode open and then append the child of the template content clone node. And because we're appending its contents to the shadow DOM, we can include some styling information inside the template with the style element, which is then encapsulated inside the custom element. And now we can use all of that styling and HTML by just putting in our tag into the HTML document. So advantages of using web components. They are faster. Web components are faster than the custom HTML elements are. They're understood by the browser, and they don't require, they're not required to load any external dependencies in the browser in order to render the components. Encapsulation. We want to encapsulate all of our stuff in the web components. The web components encapsulates the logic and the UI, making it easier and cleaner to use. And then reusability. Unlike frameworks or libraries, web components are reusable across projects, as they are built using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which are rendered by browsers. So in conclusion, both Bootstrap and custom web components have made it so much easier to build systems that we can support, and they can be supported around a range of platforms and frameworks via a single code base. Thank you for listening to our presentation.